Got some bad news on the Kings front yesterday. Devin Carter, rookie first-round pick, underwent shoulder surgery. He will be reevaluated in 6 months, and that's the key wording there, is the dreaded reevaluation. It's not, he's going to return in 6 months. The NBA is also the only league that does this. When a player in the NFL gets hurt, say high ankle sprain, team just comes out and says, yep, 6 to 8 weeks. Or whatever the amount of weeks is, 6 to 8 weeks, and then I'll be back. Not like, 4 weeks, we'll reevaluate and see how he's doing. And in that reevaluation and that update, they go, okay, 3 more weeks, we'll reevaluate him again. That's frustrating. I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I mean, like I heard on draft night, 8 months, the day before the draft, 8 months. I heard a couple of days after draft night, 6 to 8 months was the recovery time from the type of surgery. But then, when he came in for his rookie interviews and stuff, like at that point, Monty McNair couldn't even like confirm whether he was going to play in the California Classic or not. And that's clearly not the case. So, I want to know the dynamics of how this all worked out. I do know, look, I know he's a little bit older prospect at 22. And so you would hope that he would be able to step on the court and play right away. But this is also a pick for like today, tomorrow, 3 years from now. And that's something that Monty brought up as well. You don't draft for today, you draft for the future. And I totally agree with that. Like, it's a bummer that he's not going to play, but at the same time, redshirting as a rookie is not a horrible thing, and getting to understand the travel and the rigors of an NBA season and what it takes to learn and all that stuff, watch from the bench, all of that, it does have value. And so hopefully there comes a point where he does get back on the court, but I would be surprised if it's not, something, midway.
Wasn't the whole thing during the draft about how they needed to find somebody who could help this year if they were going to use the pick?
Oh yeah.
Like we 86 to anybody who was younger than 20 years old because that player can't help this year.
No, it's very true.
And so now you've got a rookie who's going to be reevaluated in 6 months. So let's get optimistic with it. And let's say that he is ready to play in January. I don't think that's going to be the case, but let's say he's ready to play by January. So now you have this rookie who's coming into a situation where you're post-Christmas. It is go time. It is trade deadline coming up. Rotations have, for the most part, been established at this point. And now you not only have to figure out where this guy fits into your rotation, but also he's starting at square one of learning how to be an NBA player on the court. Like you said, there's value in the off-court stuff. He's going to be in film rooms. He's going to be watching practice. He may get to travel some and be on the road and do all that. That's all great. But on the court, I just don't know how, if you even in the most optimistic sense where he is back on the court in January, that it's really hard to be optimistic that he's going to have much of a role, if any, outside of, we got a couple of guys in foul trouble. Go give us 3 minutes.
Oh yeah. I would say his impact on the court is going to be absolutely nil this season. And to be honest with you, once he does get healthy, if he's, let's say he's healthy by February, like I'm going to want him to just send him to the G League, let him get his legs underneath him. Because we always talk about this. That's a point in the season that January is where the Kings always have like their longest road trip of the season, right? It's always in January. Yeah. It's the month where you don't have practice. Like there's no way to get him on the court and have him take physical contact and like sort of clear the basic steps that the Kings have. You're cleared. They let you play some 3-on-3 with some of the coaching staff. The 3-on-3 becomes full court 3-on-3. And the next thing you know, it's like 5-on-5, no contact, and then 5-on-5 with contact. Like they have a very strict like way that they build you back up to play. And so it's difficult to see that happening when we're talking about not only, January, February, and like the sprint, but also the trade deadline and also All-Star week and all that stuff. So it's tough to figure where he's going to be able to play. before maybe March, and if he can pick up some minutes here and there just to get his feet wet, just to give you an extra body, maybe that does help. But I wouldn't expect any major contribution from him in year one because of this.
Here's why this is a little bit disappointing to me, and please, I want to make sure I'm being very clear here. I don't think this derails the Kings' chances to do whatever they were going to do this season.
Mm,
It's not that it is not that dramatic, but it is a little disappointing for me because when they drafted Devin Carter, and I did some reading and did some watching, and I went, man, he might just be better. He might give them more than Davion Mitchell did right like out of the gate.
hmm
They might have just improved their roster right now, and might have. Not saying he would have been better than Davion, but I thought there was a definite chance that by December or January you could have a version of Devin Carter that was contributing in more ways or in more productive ways than Davion was. And you went, man, their guard rotation is even better. And TCG in the YouTube chat in the chatty house said they won't need him unless there are a few injuries, and that's a bummer to me. I don't disagree, but that's a bummer to me because I thought he was going to have an impact this year. And now, like you said, it seems like even if he is healthy by some point in January, early February, he's probably going down to Stockton, and he's probably getting his sea legs there. And that's kind of that's just a little disappointing to me because I was really excited for what he could bring in year one, even if it wasn't approaching his ceiling. I thought he could be a really effective player for them
yeah,
on both ends as a playmaker.
I thought so too. I thought like 18 minutes, maybe 20 minutes
Mm-hmm.
per game in like a perfect setting. But I
Yeah.
also know that the Kings guard depth is pretty solid still.
No
They did bring in Jordan McLaughlin, who can easily handle like 11 to 12 minutes a night, and maybe
Yeah.
a little bit more. You're gonna have other guys that, again, I think this might open a door for a guy like Mason Jones to be on the court a little bit more than you expected
Mm.
as a two-way player.
Had a good talk
Um,
off.
yeah, yeah, and, again, he's done a bunch of work on his body, and maybe he is more, at, like, 25, 26. Maybe he's more NBA, ready to step on the court and help you right now. If
Mhm,
you're gonna be a team that thinks that they can win 50 or more,
mhm,
maybe he is somebody that can help you, even if it is as on a limited basis. So, yeah, I mean, this is about opportunity. It's about Keon Ellis all of a sudden getting an opportunity to prove that he's your guy,
mhm,
right? It,
mhm.
it might open the door for Kevin Herter to
That's
maybe, hey, he could
that
open the
was
season as a starting shooting guard,
that
but
was
we
my
don't know.
next question. That was
Yeah.
that was my next question because I've been operating under the assumption this entire offseason that Kevin Herter is out the door, right? In some deal, in some trade, and it's not because he's bad. In fact, I think part of the reason I was so confident that he was going to get moved is because I think he has a lot of value as an NBA player. It's just when you start to piece things together for the Kings, I don't I don't know that I he could fit. Any team will take a 6'7" shooter who's gonna give you 40+% from beyond the arc. But I also don't know that that's a role that he wants to take on because I think he knows he has more to offer than that. So it was just kind of I don't quite see how he fits into this picture. But now with Devin Carter down, it does open that door for Kevin Herter to potentially play, whether it's at the 2 or at the 3, and it makes me come back to what we were talking about at the top of the show with the Kings being a little bit quiet since making the DeMar DeRozan trade. Is it because they got word of what Devin Carter was going to need surgery wise, and all of a sudden Kevin Herter becomes a little bit less indispensable,
Yeah.
dispensable, less
I,
dispensable?
Yeah,
That's
I would definitely think that that's a possibility that Kevin Herter actually he does make sense. He makes sense playing alongside DeRozan as far as a spacer. And
Mhm,
I think the one thing that we know about Kevin Herter is that when he's right, he can really shoot the ball.
mhm,
We don't know where he's at with his rehab. He had
sure,
a torn labrum as well. And it's funny because we didn't hear 6 months from when the Kevin Herter injury happened. We heard
mhm,
4 to 5 months.
mhm,
So it just makes me think that maybe there was a little bit more to the Devin Carter surgery than what we thought. But like, look, the league is about opportunity and who takes advantage of it. And for me, again, one of the key guys that's going to get an opportunity here is going to be Keon Ellis. But then who else wants to stand up and raise their hand and say, "Hey, I'm willing to take on a bigger role, and I'm capable of taking on a bigger role." And whether that again is Kevin or it's Mason Jones, or name that player that maybe not even be on the roster yet.
Sure.
I think there will be a little bit of a scramble here to sort of shore up the rest of the rotation.
Yeah, can't wait to see how that all shakes